Can folks online hear us? I see a nodding of the head.
One head.
Yes.
Oh, two heads.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, was it 6?
6:32.
I call this meeting to order. Huh.
Does it have to be second? I second it.
No,
No,
I
okay.
think we're fine. All right, so attendance, we have Nancy Demlek here and Rosemarie here.
Yes, yes. I thought you said.
And Marilyn and Karen,
Yes.
yeah, and Jean Prado
Yeah.
and Karen Panett
Yes.
and Tony
Yes.
and I think that's it. Did anybody count them up? Do we have a quorum?
I don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jean, 5.
Karen.
Where's Karen?
Six.
Yep, magic
Yeah.
number.
All right. So tonight, we are going to spend some time with our announcements. We are going to get the Elder and Human Services report. We're going to talk about the trust funds and the ARPA update. And welcome to our newest member,
Oh, you're doing it?
Janet, who's going to
Just for this test.
this member. Janet, you always have to pick me up on my,
This is my job.
I know. We're gonna get some feedback on all of the wonderful volunteers that Janet has been recruiting. The Ad hoc Commemoration Establishment Committee ACE is looking for some volunteers. And then lastly, I want to talk about a plan of action work group for the new senior center. So that's the plan. So
Yeah, I do have
Great.
extra copy here. There you go.
Thank you so much.
everybody should have received a copy of the minutes. They are very long.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I did to read them all.
There was no way to summarize the legal stuff because every point was something different. And it's like, all I can do is skip points and I'm not gonna judge which ones mattered and which ones didn't. So I just.
So you did.
I did it, yes.
Okay.
So I just put the TV on and I do another one. Do another. It's long.
So how do people feel?
No, I didn't have to read the whole thing.
This morning.
Yeah.
Do you want to table that and do it the next time and everybody can have a chance to read it? Okay.
Well, wait a minute. If
What?
Marilyn typed it up, then she's really read it. Can she give us the highlights?
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
no.
Look at it, it is the most detailed.
It's 7
version ever.
Single spaced. 5 of which are
Of
the.
what? What's in there for
The
the
legal.
All the legal.
All legal. I don't know anything about legal anyway.
Well,
I would rather see it,
Okay.
wait until the next one.
I would advise
Did an
that.
amazing job, but I didn't have time to read them.
I-
I glanced through it.
Totally understand. My intention was just to like say, here are the key 3 points, go watch the video, but I couldn't find 3 key points that I trusted myself to say that at that point she was articulating it in its entire, I just watched TV and kept doing another one.
And Karen Fontino is here
Hi, Karen.
and we have a guest tonight.
Mike Colton.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Mike.
So we're gonna table the minutes to the next time to accept them. That's fine. So that brings us up to our next row here, select board update. I don't think we have anybody here from the select board.
We have a meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They could have stopped in.
Theirs isn't until 7.
Right. And then, I noticed I had Recal, PBC update on here. Recal. I don't really, and I have John Parsons' name, and it really shouldn't be, it should be my name.
Because Recal is sunsetted, right?
Well, Recal still exists, but Recal sunsetted.
What's the difference?
Committee?
The committee.
Yeah, one's part of the PBC and the other
Okay,
was-
okay, so that's what I see what you're
Yeah.
doing. Okay.
Okay. And a quick update on that. The town has hired a consultant, TTH. Last name is Healy. or
Turner and Townsend Harry.
Yes. And they have been hired and they're starting, and there is a meeting on Thursday with the TT&H and BH&A.
Are they the OPMs?
They are the
Okay.
OPM. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, and I understand that next, on October 23rd, they're supposed to be testing the soil.
Yes.
That'll be important.
Next week.
Yeah,
Yes, it's finally here.
right. And that's really all the update there is on that right now. Friends of Reading Seniors 60+. Nora, you want to talk a little?
Yeah,
bit about the launch of
Yeah, we
it?
had a launch October 1st. It was at Post, the new restaurant 1917. And it was very nice, very well attended. Written Select Board, Senior Center was there, Council on Aging, some politicians. Mystic Valley Services was there, some RNN leaders. So it went well, we just sort of introduced ourselves as an organization that we're going to start fundraising and advocacy for the seniors. And we have, there's been a lot of work done. I mean, there's a website where you can donate. There's a Facebook page. We have a brochure. We're going to be at the next week at the library at the Connections. We were at the Reading Fair.
What's next week at the library?
I think it's called Reading Connections for anybody in the neighborhood. Comes to the library. There's all organizations. There's
Oh, it's the welcome new
Welcome.
neighbor, welcome new neighbor. No, we
But
should,
they
yeah.
renamed it.
yeah, so that anybody can.
Yeah,
we should be there.
yeah. We
So what are
didn't,
you gonna set up like with?
Yeah,
So
we have a table, yeah.
And so how are you inviting people in?
What night is it?
October 22nd from 5 to 7.
What day of the week?
yeah.
Tuesday.
I volunteered to work on the Friends table as long as I could also talk about Council on Aging. And they said yes.
And you talk about the library, which is
Yes.
Yeah.
So how are you getting people to come?
Oh,
The
they
library
advertised
is
it,
advertising.
The library.
And the town.
It's
Yeah.
what used to formerly be New Neighbors or,
Yeah,
New
new resident
residents.
open house.
New resident.
Yeah.
Open house.
right.
And now it's.
And they get a good turnout. I've
Yeah,
been.
it's like a centralized welcome wagon.
I also heard, going back to the Friends group, though, I heard today that their Friends group is officially out of the hole, out of the
Oh, we
money.
have money, yes.
You have money now.
Yes, we have money. People have been donating.
So was last week a fundraiser as well? Did you raise any?
No,
money during
that wasn't a fundraiser,
Just,
but
just a lot.
just to launch, yeah.
Okay.
But people have been sending in checks, giving checks.
So the people who are sending you checks, how are they finding out about Friends?
Well, they seem to know about it, either Facebook page.
Well, for
A lot of
launch,
Facebook.
It was in the Reading
Launch.
For
Post,
launch, there was an
yeah,
invitation.
that was by invitation only
Yeah.
for the launch.
but it was in the Reading Post and. different
Yeah, there's been
places.
some write-ups, the
In the fair,
select board.
the
Yeah, the
Reading
street
Fair.
Yeah.
Also, Joanne and Anne Marie have been doing a lot of word of mouth. They've been working on.
Yes, they had, and they know a lot of people.
Yeah. But it's exciting that you guys now have money
I know.
rather than.
I'm not.
debt.
Yeah.
That's good.
How much money? Who's doing the accounting? Is there a printout?
Am I allowed to say?
I don't know. if
Yeah,
I'm not
it's-
even allowed to
Yeah,
say.
it's not town information. There's no open accountability on it.
It's a
You're correct.
nonprofit, yeah.
I mean, it's nice to know, but
Yeah,
maybe an annual report or something, but you're not accountable for it.
yeah, technically, there's a separation
Yes.
between the organizations, but we invite everybody here, so.
You're in the 4 digits.
Yeah,
Beginning with like a six.
6, yeah. 9. Wow.
That's great.
And the small crowd that I sit with during the day today,
Yeah.
one of the women said that you should put in the pleasantries that anybody who's talking about end-of-life documents to consider friends for donation. And also when they're writing up their obituary,
Oh, yeah.
say in lieu of flowers, please donate.
I think we can close.
Yes, and they're gonna approach the lawyers and funeral homes and that we're in the process of
Yeah.
outreach, like.
And then also, people love their pets, so you can tell them to donate for their pet. Fluffy. Fluffy's name.
Yeah.
I'm donating.
No, I saw your
5,000.
email to Joanne. She thought that was very helpful.
So I
Amazing.
was talking with that group and they thought they.
That was a good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, they love their pets. They really love their pets, so they can donate. Okay, good to know.
So, great work, great progress. Moving forward. What else? Noxious odor
Wait, you
remediation.
didn't want to do Mystic Valley Elder Services?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mystic Valley Elder Services.
I wasn't able to attend the meeting this month.
Okay.
Okay,
No update.
next month. So I'm gonna turn it over to Chris.
All right. Yeah, time to take a look at the report. We had we actually had a really good month. The only reason our numbers, if you can see, September was 2,703 duplicated and 616 unduplicated. The only reason this is low is because we almost, not totally shut down, but we installed the new AV system in the great room for a week. So we didn't have any classes or programmings in the great room that week. So that is the only reason that number is low. You know, typically on average, if we would have had that week, we would have been well over 3,000, probably closer to 32. I kind of did some averaging and stuff, and it probably would have been around 32, which is good. It was a really good month despite being shut down, but it was shut down for a good reason. So our numbers are good.
Even so, the total number of individual people served still grew substantially.
Yeah,
548 up to 616 without a week of our biggest room. Yahoo!
people were still calling,
Yep.
people were so active. It was really good. So to have 27.3.
Yeah.
For the month. So I'm excited about that. We continue to grow. We continue to have solid numbers where we need them to be. As you can see, volunteers right below that. Take a look, so you kind of know what we're talking about. It just kind of gives you an idea of how many volunteers, July, August, September, how many hours I kind of put in. So it's, in a few minutes, you'll hear from Janet, our volunteer coordinator, about the volunteers and everything going on with volunteers. So it's been amazing, and I am really excited that we have the volunteers, and Janet has done an amazing job with that. So.
Yes, she has.
So. As you can see, just some of the highlights, October highlights this month, we have Blue Cross Blue Shield. We have our blood pressure clinics back. We had 2 lunch and learns. We had State Rep Brad Jones last Friday in. But you can take a look down through there. We have a lot of good stuff coming up in October. Halloween party on October 31st, lunch. Anna's done again phenomenal with getting, the programming in, so another good month ahead of us, so kudos to Anna. PSC update, I'm just gonna skip around just a little bit. As I mentioned, the AV system is in and it is working really well.
Yeah.
So it is nice. We have the wireless mic back, the volume's good, it's a very simple system. Easier than the previous one, it's literally hit a button and it's on. So it is working really well. We did last Friday, we installed a second camera for conferencing, so we have one that faces the audience. But then we just installed a second one to point and focus on any presenter. So originally we were just gonna go with one that showed the audience, but actually the town had another one, we just had to purchase the bracket and everything to hang the second one. So it was kind of a no-brainer to get both cameras so we can see, the room, but also we can focus on the presenter. So we can, to be honest, I think if we wanted to, we could start having COA meetings at the Pleasant Street Center. If we wanted to, I feel like for the Council on Aging and the Pleasant Street Center, I feel like kind of makes sense.
I was gonna suggest that.
Yeah.
At our next meeting, can it be at
Yeah.
BFC?
So we can, my hope, I gotta look at the date, but yeah, as long as we have nothing in the great room,
Mhm.
we can have
Great.
COA meetings at the Pleasant Street Center, which is
We-
exciting.
To before the pandemic, it's just because of Zoom that we haven't.
Yeah. But now we have that covered, so
But now we
we're
can do it.
really excited about that. We continue to reduce the use of plastic water bottles at the Pleasant Street Center, which is really good. Over the past month, if you've been to some of the bigger events and some of our events, we started using pitchers of water on the tables and paper cups. So we really have reduced the number of little plastic bottles that we're using. We were going through quite a bit and we have really cut that down. We still have some if we need them, but we're not using many, which is really good. So, so that means over the past 2 years, most of our utensils are compostable, plates are either paper or compostable, tablecloths now are compostable, except for the round ones. I can't find round compostable tablecloths yet. But, we don't use the round ones very often right now. But, we've really reduced how much plastic we're using at the Pleasant Street Center. So it's a really good initiative and it's a nice thing to have. So the staff has done really well with implementing that and getting things set with that. So to reduce the plastic, so.
Kudos.
We do have I put this on last month, but we do have a coffee time /group after best exercise on Fridays, and that seems to be going fairly well. Other than the once a month when Brad Jones is there for office hour, don't get me started, Rosemary. Don't start. But we, after best on Fridays, best gets done at 10 and we make some coffee and folks can hang around and have some coffee and chat. You don't even have to be part of best. You could just come down at 10 and, have some coffee.
Nice.
So feel free to join. Facilities rerouted the HVAC exhaust system in the attic away from the intake. We are continuing. We are not 100% sure it took care of the odor. We're continuing to wait to make, the weather's been up and down, so the system's been kind of in flux. So we haven't had a good cold spell to really run the system. We are getting some of a smell. Something that I did notice though last week and they started cleaning is I started having them clean the vents. So a lot of the vents and inside the vents were pretty caked with a buildup of dust. So they are in the process of doing that, which would help with the air intake. So we're kind of going with that. That's the update on the odor. We're gonna give it a month and see, and then it's gonna be up to facilities. And if you want an answer, you're gonna have to reach out to facilities on that one. But that's just a quick update on you know, I know, yes, we're probably still smelling something. The system's kicking on and off quite a bit because we're going hot and cold still. We want to get cold to see see the extent of it. And we'd like to get the vents cleaned, the intake vents cleaned.
Oh, so they're not being cleaned now?
Well, I don't know the last time they were cleaned, but I noticed they needed.
Decades.
Yeah. So, but I asked that they cleaned them, so I know they started working on that last Friday. I noticed some, but it's gonna take probably another Friday or two just to get them down and get them cleaned out. So that's an update on the HVAC system.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
The trash cart presentation, how did
Yes.
people respond to that? Because I know they're enormous trash cans.
Yes. So, actually, I thought it went really well. So there's a couple differences. Last time we did it about a year ago or whenever it was, it was still something that was being thought of. It wasn't an actual, it wasn't a done deal. Now it is a done deal, so people know it's coming. And they seem to have, it was a good presentation. There's a lot of good questions. It's also nice that they're providing different size barrels, especially for seniors. So they have 3 different size barrels that seniors can choose from. They have a 48 gallon, a 64 gallon, and then the standard one is a 96 gallon. And they have a list for seniors, older adults that they can sign up and request a smaller one. So when they implement this later in the fall, they can receive a smaller one if they want to. So
Smaller than 48 or just
48 is the
Okay.
smallest. And it's still maybe for some people a little bit big, but it's not, I think it's pretty manageable compared to the 96 gallon. But I thought it went really well. People had a lot of good questions. What do you think, Jenna?
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah.
I feel like there wasn't as many people signing up for the small barrels as I anticipated. I don't know.
I signed up for the middle ones.
Yeah.
Did you have the sizes there?
Yep, and they're still at the center so people can kind of view them. They're right in the great room. So if you want to come by and take a look, please come by and test drive them.
When is that rolling out in the town?
Next spring, after winter. Yeah, so that's when they will distribute it. Everyone will get a recycling and a trash barrel. The recycling barrels will be blue, and the trash barrels will be all green.
So the recycling are these sizes as well?
Yeah, so you can,
Okay,
rather than giving everyone a 96 of them,
I use my little red thing and it's more than it
Yeah.
else.
but you'll have a 48 one, which,
And they're coming back again, right, in December?
December.
For another
yeah, in
talk?
December for another talk in
December 4th.
December. So it was a good presentation, not a whole lot of uproar. People seem to be okay with it. So, but it's also coming, so, I mean, it's
Right.
gonna happen. Yeah, so it was a good lunch and a good question. Thank you.
Jean has her hand up.
Jean?
Quick question for you. Is there a sign-up sheet going forward at the center? If those who did not attend the meeting, they come down and look at these, can they sign up at the center?
So I have taken a couple names at the center. I was gonna call Chris Cool today, but I got sidetracked with a couple things. I'm gonna call him tomorrow to see if we can't grab it. I don't see why we couldn't have his sheet down there for a couple weeks. Because I have taken some names, and then just kind of called him and be like, hey, John Smith wants a 48 gallon,
Is it publicized on the town website that they can
Yep,
sign up? Where they go to sign up?
Yeah, but I think I don't see any harm why we couldn't have it at the center.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I'm just worrying about the 6,000 don't go to.
Yeah, their slideshow that they use for the lunch and learn will be on the DPW website and should be on the town website soon. I haven't checked if it's up yet, but they said they were gonna put it up soon.
Yeah.
And how do they sign up for what size they want?
Contact DPW or they can come down to the Pleasant Street Center.
Okay.
Is the easiest.
And I think Chris was also going to be putting together a flyer. There was a suggestion from someone at the talk that they would like, this is a lot of information.
It's a good
So,
idea.
hey, give us all the key points on one flyer. And then Chris can distribute that at the center as well.
Good idea.
So,
Part of the key points were what we were gonna do with our red bins,
right,
so people need to know that too.
right, yep, all the FAQs, right, those frequently asked questions. And even people had a lot of great questions about their bulk items, like they thought that was completely out the door. It isn't.
Good.
So. yeah,
Leaf
all those-
pickup is still there? They're gonna do that too?
Did they talk about leaf
Oh.
pickup? I don't remember. but
Oh.
I don't recall that they did, but it's a
Well, we
good
can-
question. We can add it.
Can make sure.
That's a good question. This is nice. It's good that we talk about this because these are really good questions that, like this, I didn't even think about. I think about bulk items, but I didn't think about the leaf.
Oh, they did mention bulk items,
Yeah, they didn't mention
a
bulk.
leaf collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will ask Chris about that.
I think the pickup for bulk items needs to be clearer. What exactly can we put out there? And can we just put them next to the barrels?
Sure.
Or are we gonna be lifting up something heavy to go into the barrel?
But
Does everything have to go? I didn't go, I'll watch the thing, but does everything have to go in the barrel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't just put out a green bag with
well, they
more
they
anymore.
are thinking about specific bags that you can buy,
All right.
that you can put like overflow.
Okay, I'll watch.
$3 a bag.
I don't think they have that set yet.
Huh?
I don't think that price is set.
Yeah, I heard $3 a bag. Or whatever.
Good.
But the middle-sized barrels
This
are,
winter before they do it.
Yeah, so you have to do it, so you have another like handful of months,
Yeah. Declutter.
yeah, it should too.
Good. Do you have any more questions, Karen?
Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. A
Yeah.
lot going on. A lot of information too,
Mhm.
so that's great. Actually, if people don't mind, I'm gonna switch and put the volunteer update next.
Great.
And then we'll do the trust funds opera.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nancy.
So, so if I haven't met you, my name's Janet DeVoe. I'm the volunteer coordinator at the center. Chris and Jenna asked me to come because I've just been here 10 months. I was hired in December of 2023 for an 18-month contract with ARPA funding. I work 19 hours a week at the center. I'll give you a little recap and looking ahead. So since I started, we created and updated the volunteer application, a handbook, and we have an opportunity list for the community. We have successfully trained, recruited and overseen over 43 volunteers now at the center who come weekly, some are monthly, and then we do have several who are now continuous weekly volunteers. We have established partnerships with North Shore Bank, Eastern Bank, Royal Health, Austin Prep, Wakefield High, St. John's Prep, and Reading High School. And the larger organizations provide groups of volunteers for all of our large events. And then the high schools have been giving us volunteers for specific events. This summer, we had a student from Austin Prep who helped run our chair volleyball program. We had a student from St. John's Prep who we've been working with on a redesign of pleasantries that will be launching in January. And we also have volunteers from Reading High School who have volunteered at events, and they're also our decorating committee, and they've been coming in and decorating the center for all the holidays. So we're just looking to keep that growth going, and it's involving people from all ages, which we enjoy. We have developed and maintained a volunteer spotlight, which is featured in Pleasantries on our Facebook page and also in the Reading Post. The purpose of this is not only to thank our volunteers, but so outside people can see themselves volunteering. It's not just for seniors. We have this wonderful woman, Michelle, she's a mom who works from home, but she comes on her lunch break on Mondays to help serve lunch. So it's highlighting these people so they can see, other people can see themselves, volunteering with us. It's not just, we have Ralph, who's wonderful, who does our bingo, but we want them to show all different ages and different skills. And like we have Biff, who we're featuring this month, who is our lamp repair volunteer, who has been fixing lamps for over 6 years with us, free of charge for every senior. So we're just trying to show people what we have so they can see themselves with us. In addition to those items, I took a grant writing class this summer in hopes that we can bring some more funding in through grants. We just submitted our first grant today. Chris and Anna and I worked on a grant, so we're hoping maybe we'll see something come from that. And we are looking to expand our volunteer recruitment to work with the Knights of Columbus, the Boys and Girl Scouts, and some other local companies to keep growing the numbers. There's been a bunch of other things that that I work on just to help out. I assist with front desk when Linda's out. I assist with the program with Anna, like helping out with events. I'll help her with ideas. We help her execute, clean up, just because it's hard. She's a one-man show with that, so it's nice to have some help. And finally, we are on the final steps of revitalizing our property tax worker program for 2025. This program existed in the town prior to COVID and kind of petered out due to COVID. For those who aren't familiar, it's in most towns across the state. It is a program where it allows senior 60 plus to work in the town to get an abatement on their property tax. So currently, the program was kind of just, treading water. So we tried to revitalize it, bring it up to minimum wage. And we are in the final steps that we will have 10 positions available for 2025, hopefully, where seniors can work 100 hours to get $1,500 off their property tax.
Wonderful, good for you.
So, we're almost there. So this is a request for this group. We would like to present the final program to the COA next meeting and that to vote for your approval so that we can then go to the select board in December, get their approval, and then hopefully launch in January. So we can start accepting applications February, March, and people can start working in the spring. So if we can get
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry,
What's the name of that
it's the
program?
property tax worker program.
Is it income based?
Yes, we will be, we just were met today and there were several, we did a comparison of surrounding towns to see what other towns do. And there's several different ways it can be done. Some towns have no income limit. Some use the senior circuit breaker tax credit limit, and other towns use the federal poverty level times 400 or 500 for their number. And it was decided they would be going with the federal poverty level because it is a bit higher of a number. And we will be hosting, once the program launched, the assessor has kindly offered to come over and do some presentations with us at the senior center to educate everyone on the program, plus all the other programs that the assessor's office offers to seniors, how they can work together. And hopefully if this works well and people are interested and we see a lot, we can grow the program from 10 positions to hopefully more in the following year. But it's kind of like dipping our toes in, seeing how people respond. And if there's a desire for it from the seniors, then we can continue to make it grow.
What is the,
Like Jenna, just so you all know, we're hoping next month to give you more information
Yes.
and tell you more about it. We met this morning. Jenna and a handful of us met this morning to go over some details. So, feel free to ask some questions, but just know, hopefully we can add this to the agenda for next month
Sure,
and get you more detail. So,
definitely.
Yes, and so
Sounds great.
we learned today the process would be for you all to vote to approve our proposal. And once that approval comes, then we can take the next step.
what is the
Great.
federal poverty level?
I can give you the numbers right here. So what they do is they take the number and they multiply it either by 400 or 500. So it would be 75,300 for a family of one, from a family of two, $102,200.
And then that number gets multiplied by 4?
No, that
That
is
is the
multiplied.
multiplied one.
That is the multiplier.
Yeah, and the income level before
I
was
know.
extremely low.
I think it was 39,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously the number of eligible people would be.
I have a question.
Wait, just hold on. Jean's had her hand up. for a while. Jean?
Hi. One quick thing from my knowledge with this from previous years. I don't know if it's still in force, but something you might want to check with is with the town, because there was something years ago, I have heard, that if a senior's income at that time qualified them, but if they had anything in a trust, that was something the town needed to see or check out. So that's another aspect of that.
Yeah, so the town assessor, we have that as part of the application process and the checklist. So that is included. And when that happens, when the application is filled out, they'll include that information and the town assessor will clear all applicants. But, you know, if you guys think of more questions, I hopefully will have all the answers for you.
I have a question, but not about this, but how is is this going to be funded after ARPA funding? And
Well, we have been discussing that, and we plan to ask for it to stay in the budget with, also maybe about 5 to 6 at least increased hours. So stay tuned.
Oh, good.
Yes,
That's
so that's-
really good to
yeah,
hear.
you're planning it
Yes,
for it.
absolutely.
So we've been talking extensively, I know Jen and I have been talking about it a lot. I know I've been talking to Janet with it a lot. I do not want to lose her, so it's a very good question, Karen.
So Jenna, who
Um,
have you been discussing it with?
So, yeah, we've met with the assistant town manager, who's talked to the town manager. Chris and I have met several times. I talked to someone on FinCom who mentioned it at the meeting last week. And specifically, one of the reasons why Janet is here today is obviously, I want you guys to see how valuable she is.
She is valuable.
You know, she's so much more than just a volunteer coordinator, which a lot of our staff does a lot more than their position. Everyone does. And, you know, if you're a good worker, usually you go above and beyond in whatever work you do. But like the amount of care and time and effort and the level of execution over there is like tremendous. Like you would ask Janet for something and she would probably have it to you like in 3 hours. Or if she didn't, she would work all night until she got it to you. So, you know, she's really great over there, and her experience before the center too is also what makes her so valuable, working for the Jimmy Fund and having marketing background. And so she's really a go-getter and has so many tools and knowledge that work really well with like the direction that we're heading in. So it would be awful to not have her in the future. Obviously it was grant funded and she knew when she was hired,
It was an experiment for us all.
but we want to keep her. So
And I have to, hold on a sec, I do want to say, Janet's work has been amazing. This is. You can soak it in for a few minutes, Jen. She really has, like, I have been impressed by the volunteers, how many volunteers have signed up. It has made a huge difference, you know, I go down and say hi, but I'm not, you know, it's amazing that I know, even if I have to stay up at my desk, I know the operation there is running magnificently. And it's thanks to the staff, but it's also thanks to Janet and the volunteers that I know for events. I mean, I have never seen an operation, you know, the cogs are turning perfectly. Knock on wood, that, you know, I know it's smooth. Everyone knows the operation. They know what they're doing, and it's fantastic. And, you know, a lot of this has to do with the sheer number of volunteers that have come in. And it's made such a huge difference. So kudos to Janet for all her work.
yeah, and now that
It's everybody.
we're sharing the funding of our public health nurse as well, it allows us to keep our program coordinators that were being offset. So even if we do ask for Janet's position to stay funded with some extra hours, the way that the numbers balance out, it may not be like a very large ask either. So.
Who are you asking? What is the final, who makes the final decision?
Well, FinCom, select board, you know, they gotta
It
approve.
has to go before.
Yep, and then it goes to town meeting.
Oh, has to go
Mhm.
before town meeting too?
Yeah, all the budgets go before town meeting to get approved, yeah. So we've been able to be creative with a lot of our resources. So we think that we can keep a lot of these ARPA funded positions the way that they are, so.
And Jenna's been working, I have to say, Jenna's been working hard on,
Bless you.
Excuse me.
you know, getting what we need, and I appreciate that. I mean, Jenna's support. And, you know, we've been focusing on, I mean, we're in a different time than we ever have been. Things are different. We have a lot more folks at the center. You know, we're at a different level than we were.
Mhm.
And, you know, this operating at this level wouldn't be possible without the staff, but it also wouldn't be possible without like Jenna's support. And, you know, as we try to get this figured out. So I want to make sure, thank you to Jenna, because I know she's always there. I annoy her with phone calls probably too many times I know she screens them now. Like, I'm not answering his call for the third time today. But it really, I have to say, at the level that we're operating, you know, it's the volunteers, the staff, and Jenna to get what we need. You know, it looks differently and change is a little scary for people, but it's what we need and it's a good change and we're getting the support we need, which is awesome.
And from you guys too,
And from you guys, yes.
of course.
A suggestion, you may already do this, I have no idea, but it just occurs to me that, do you enjoy working with the volunteers? I'm sure because they're doing it, they must all really enjoy the opportunity to be engaged in the senior center. And I think that is a really good poster child for how important the senior center is in giving people in the community an opportunity to be engaged with the community. So even if you had like a 2-question, you know, what does this job mean to you? Anonymous.
That's what the volunteer spotlight does.
Oh, great,
but
great.
it's-
All right, fabulous.
We found it's nice because like I mean, my sons have been recruited and they are there, but it's nice to see the different ages and it's fulfilling for the seniors. We have that volunteer, but then also from all these organizations, like
Yeah.
they come in and then they're vested, you know, and we see like an example, North Shore Bank and Eastern Bank. We keep seeing the same people coming back. At the beginning, it would just be random. They put it out to all their branches and we'd see different people, but now a lot of people keep coming back because they enjoy being there. And an example, we have a wonderful woman who comes in on Mondays and makes coffee. She started a couple of months after I started. And, you know, it's just nice that she didn't really come into the senior center before. And now she comes to events because now you know, you feel a part of the community. So I think it has a positive effect on me, on other seniors, but also on the volunteers.
Is there a way to encapsulate that to share with the select board? I mean, we really need to get our message out as to how important to the community a senior center, community center, whatever the heck it ends up being
Yeah.
is. I think I think it's a great poster child. And clearly you've got the material.
Yeah.
It needs to somehow be happy to help if you want help thinking about how to
Yeah,
put
sounds
together.
You do realize
Sounds
Janet's gonna probably have it to you tomorrow. That's how she works.
No, but
Just kidding, I'm just joking, joking.
It's fine, but I'm happy
It's
to
when you
help
come in
make
corporate
some few
America.
slides out of it or something.
Yeah,
Just, you know,
good idea.
FYI.
Yeah.
Here's an example of how important this kind of institution is, and it crosses the ages. So
We can get that out, and I think that's wise. I think it's a smart, now that we're having
Yeah.
different aspects and a lot of things going on.
Jean has her hand up.
Hi, I strongly feel Jenna's position is very, very important. This is mainly for Jenna. Jenna, how long is it going to take to get an approval or vote on this position? I mean, my thought is is there any way to write something into the ARPA funds that should they need it, that they will cover an additional time for Janet until it is approved by the town?
That's a great suggestion. I did, when I was asked a month ago or so, I think in the last meeting I had mentioned it, that there would be a discussion on reallocation of funds. That was one of the suggestions that I brought to leadership, and I said, it was, staffing, the potential, funding for the future design and construction of the center, the Recal Center, and additional funding to offset staff. And the overwhelming response from the leadership, including our town accountant, was that they never really liked the idea of cliff funding positions with grants, that they want it budgeted into the actual budget and not keep relying on that. So that was a response to that. And then the design and construction of the center, since the funds have to be encumbered by the end of end of calendar
By
year
December.
2024, that there's no additional plans yet for the center, so we can't apply it to something that we don't know is gonna happen or get voted on. So there was some discussion on that, which is why this is the thing that we think is a good solution, but I'll get to that next. But so with the budget, like I said before, for the position, and any additional positions, it would be the first FinCom meeting, then it would be the select board, and then it would go to town meeting. So we would find out in the spring. Generally speaking, if like FinCom approves it and the select board approves it, and it's kind of a short amount of money, generally speaking, town meeting does approve it. So I would think by the winter time, December, we would have a better idea. November, December.
Right, because Janet's position ends in June, doesn't it?
Correct. Yep. Yep.
But we'll know before then.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I
we'll
just,
know before next June.
And the town manager sees this as a priority because he has to put forth the budget to be presented by everyone.
Yes, I mean, I've been speaking with him and Jane quite extensively, so I don't have the projections for the next fiscal year with everyone's increases and all of the offsets yet, so I can't dive in to see.
Still premature.
Because you can look at things that you're not using within your staff, like we don't really use one of our part-time drivers anymore, but he was in the part-time driver budget, so knowing what it's projected for the next fiscal year, I could take some of that money and I could apply it to like that salary. So there's some creative things that you could do within the budget, existing budget. I just don't have those numbers yet, and I will in a few weeks.
So when will that information be available? Be firm, so we will know what's in it, and how can the Council on Aging help?
Yeah, it'll be in at November FinCon meeting
Okay,
when we go over the budgets. So at that time, there'll be a definitive plan. We have to do write-ups for each of the departments/divisions. So we'll have a plan that itemizes out everything that we're looking for, the additional funding that we're looking for. We wouldn't be asking for any other operating expenses or anything like that, just like an increase in the salaries. Slightly, probably for Janet.
mhm. I mean, might there be other expenses that, I mean, the EHS has a very minimal budget compared to other towns, and
Yeah.
and I think sometimes what happens is it's lowballed more than it should be. So I'm really glad to see that Janet's salary and position would become part of it. And perhaps, there might be a discussion, what else is missing from that budget? Like an outreach coordinator. We don't have an outreach coordinator. So what else might be missing that we would want to put in it?
Right, and it's hard because, before ARPA, we didn't have any staff really. Like literally, our front desk person wasn't full-time. Anna's position was part-time. We didn't have a Janet. Rec had a part-time program coordinator, and before that, we had no program coordinator. It was just me and Sue, or Sue and I. And I'm not saying that more staff isn't needed, because certainly when you start to grow a program and you think about having a potential new place, that more staff is needed. However, the budgeting season is going to be really tight this year, due to union contracts and other things like that. And 2 years ago, we were given an increase in our operating expenses by $25,000. And plus, we just have all this money in ARPA that we received. So this current year, I don't think that we need extra money in operating funds, considering we have the $50,000 in the operating funds. And we have the remaining of the ARPA funds that is encumbered through the end of next year. And, you know, we're using all of our money and we have the over $400,000 in the trust funds too. So right now, I don't think asking for more of an operating expenses budget is necessary.
Okay, so
I
maybe.
also want to make sure,
I would like to suggest that perhaps this be a topic for the November meeting. And Jenna, you could, because the operating budget is still a mystery to me. So perhaps you can walk us through the operating budget, what's in it, how is it calculated? And there may be opportunities for the Council on Aging to assist in getting additional budget, so.
Yeah, and then one last thing, I know we're off topic, is that we do have a consultant that we can use. I think it's called Ballard. They're part of BH+A. So my suggestion was to enlist them so they can compare what we would need they could tell us what we need in the future if we were to have a bigger center.
Mhm.
Because right now, if we had another staff person there, I don't even know where they would sit.
oh, either.
So,
I don't have space for another roommate in my office.
Use my dining room.
so that would be a good use of town funds, I think, too, and that's something maybe you could help with, or
Okay,
anyone who's willing, we can have a larger
But the
discussion.
focus, I want to make sure the focus though stays on Janet.
Oh, no, no.
Just so
Well,
everyone knows.
operating and salaries are different
Yes.
budgets.
So I just wanna- just so you know, that's the focus. to
I
keep
just know
Janet.
my 2 cents, and I think Nancy's idea is excellent. And you know, things, and I like the idea of at least a little bit of brainstorming, but I appreciate what you're saying about this reality. We have to live with this.
Right, right, yeah.
There's also the comparative reality, and
Of course.
I know the thing we go back and forth, Chris, all the time. Well, we'd be great to have some evening things. My famous, could we just have one night a month that has full services for people that work? And it's well, we don't have staff for nights, so things like that to brainstorm over a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what can
Okay,
we
wait,
do to
can I-
secure that Janet's job
Wait,
remains with us?
well,
I think
wait,
that's next
before we get into that, I'd like to see if Janet, do you want to add anything else that you're doing that we should?
We have a new, an exciting program coming for the winter. Last year when I started, there was a request for volunteers to shovel, but then we discovered there was a lot of liability with that scheduling. So we're going to be launching Sand for Seniors, where we have volunteers going to come and we're going to fill buckets of sand because the town of Reading provides free sand to residents. So we are going to be, Chris has arranged for us to get the buckets and shovels. We're going to have volunteers fill the buckets. People can sign up. If they aren't able to get their own sand, we'll be delivering it to their homes so that we can at least try and help make their homes a little bit safer in the winter months.
Nice.
So it's not shoveling, but it's we're trying to provide some service, and sand can be very heavy. And so we were looking to launch that program to try and help, with the icy sidewalks this winter. So we'll have a group shoveling sand into buckets and delivering. Yeah, so, no, but I'm very fortunate to have this position, working with Chris, Anna, Carrie, and the social work. Joe, the driver, is fantastic, Linda, and we added Liv, the nurse, who is wonderful. So, I mean, it's a pleasure to work with everybody. And it's a nice team. Everybody contributes, like, not one of us does anything alone. Everybody's always there. So it's really nice. So it's a wonderful place to work.
Good. Yay.
Janet,
Thank you.
So shall we move on to a discussion of the trust fund and an ARPA update? Bye-bye, Janet.
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Coming as
I
well
did
as for all you're doing.
I know. Thanks, Janet. I did reach out to Diane Morabito about coming to the meeting. I know Nancy was on the email too, but she's just too busy at the moment, so she gave me a list of little blurbs that I added onto the trust funds that kind of tell you what each line item is on the trust funds. And again, we'll try to get her in here if there's additional questions. And if anyone does have questions specifically related to the trust funds or any of those items, the best thing to do is to email me directly and I can reach out to Diane and get the answer. And then I can compile all of those questions that you have and the answers and bring them to, you know, the next meeting. So you can stay informed on, you know, what's going on. So that's that for the trust funds. The ARPA funds, I know that we sent out the monthly report like we usually do, but the other item, obviously.
Can I just
Sure.
go back to the trust funds for a minute?
Sure.
So I'm looking at these columns. What column, how much money is there to spend right
So
now?
if you look at the expendable,
Yeah,
all the way on the right-hand side, that's the principal and earnings that can be used for authorized purposes.
okay,
So those are the amounts in each of the trust funds that you can expend. The
okay,
amount in the non-expendable, and this is just, you know, what Diane didn't do these herself, is amount that is principal that must be preserved
mhm.
intact. So
And where is the Burbank principal sitting right? now? Is that in the expendable or the non-expendable?
Expendable.
yeah, so
It
it's
shouldn't
only
be until
expendable.
we change our opinion on it. I'd argue it shouldn't be, but
Yeah,
I mean, the standing, we can change it, but the standing decision of the Council on Aging was that only the interest would be spent until, unless a further motion was made to change it. So until that happens, I just don't want to get anyone's hopes up on something the council could be totally justified in saying, nice idea, but no. You know,
yeah,
so-
and there is outlines on all of these trust funds that says, oh, like, oh, you can only use the interest, you can only use, there's certain outlines that
But the
are
Burbank,
allocated.
but the Burbank one was voted on by the Council on Aging, and it's well
Yeah.
documented that unless we make a reverse decision, which we can.
Sure.
But we haven't yet.
That's right.
So that column, those columns need to be adjusted.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Can check with Diane.
yeah, or at least asterisk it or something, you know, where you say this would
Yeah, I mean,
require.
honestly, I don't really feel comfortable going back and forth with her.
Yeah.
So if, you know, because being the middleman's difficult because I'm not, again, like I said in the last meeting, I'm not an expert on this.
Yeah,
So I think the best thing to do is maybe you contact her directly and set up a meeting.
okay.
And that way, and maybe with Marilyn too.
Yeah, I'm
And- Or
happy.
anyone else who's good with numbers. So you can cover. I'm not good with like the
No,
trust fund stuff. but-
I just wonder, I mean, the patron for older adults, is that a really old?
Yeah, what
These are
is,
Trust?
all very old.
Because that has a significant
Like
amount. I'm thinking if
70s.
that's not just the interest, that's a significant amount
Yeah,
that has been earned.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
yeah. Yeah, these are all very old.
And we haven't really been pulling from them, which is,
No,
we've
right.
been letting them grow and
Mhm.
to be honest, the market's been doing really well over the past year
Yeah.
too. So
There's one we're required to make an expenditure out of each year, and
that was the.
hopefully by now you did the birthday cake.
That was the patron for older adult one. I think we just have to make that one. I think that's one you.
Did you do it? We need to do it if we haven't done it yet. We're required by the trust to have at least one expenditure a year.
Do we use any of these monies for Janet's salary?
No, you can't use any of the trust funds for salaries. Yeah. That I do remember reading.
Okay. Can you send me Diane's email?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be great. Yeah.
Okay.
And even if you
I'll
wanted,
CC you on.
yeah, maybe when they have their next trust fund commissioners meeting, you can be added as an agenda item and go in there to discuss this. And then and I would obviously go to that, but I think it'd be more powerful and impactful coming from you.
Okay.
And if you need help, Nancy, find.
Oh, I'll definitely.
Okay. I was gonna say the documentation of the fact that the Council on Aging made its decision, but it could be reversed. It just hasn't been to date.
So you're saying that it was all made expendable?
No, the opposite. It was
Oh.
only the interest. Oh,
For the Burbank.
the Council on Aging voted quite a while ago. Um, and said that only the interest out of that was to be expended, the trust was to be maintained, to build.
Burbank.
I'm sure the interest since that
Burbank,
donation
yeah.
is pretty significant
Yeah.
though as well.
I understand,
So,
but that was their
yeah.
decision, and it can be reversed by
Yeah.
Council on Aging.
But it hasn't been
It
yet.
has not
Yeah.
been, no, and actually, I think Mark was suggesting it gets switched to expendable a couple years ago, because it made the point, which is true, it could be, it hasn't been, so.
Mhm.
I don't want people to look at it and say, well, that money's ready to go, no.
What's involved in switching over? Is it just a
About-
vote?
Yeah,
To
just about.
switch it back, we would
It's
have to have a
just a
council
vote.
vote, yes.
All right. Why don't we do it?
I'd oppose it tonight, we don't have anything we know we want to
Let's
do.
figure out the
Amazing.
details first before we take
Yeah.
a vote. That's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, awesome.
All right.
Okay. Well, thanks for helping with that, Nancy.
Yeah.
And Marilyn possibly. Thanks. So the next part of the ARPA is the reallocation of the funds. I know I spoke really briefly on it last month, how I would probably have to be going to the select board for a presentation. And basically I asked, hey, do you want me to make a detailed presentation? And they were like, no, give all of your information to Sharon and obviously Jane and have them kind of relay the thoughts of what you think the funds could be used for. Like I said, I had preliminary conversations before any of this came about how different ways to spend the funds. So it wasn't just like automatically, I thought it should go to what I'm going to present. But I think what I'm going to present is a really great harmony of what the funds should be used for. I think it's a really good use of the funds. I think it services the 60+ community as well as other people in the community. So I wanted to write something out and read it. So I knew that I got everything out and I didn't just like speak offhand. So I'll pass it around. So you guys can have it, and then we could add this to the meeting minutes too. Everyone. And sorry, this wasn't out in advance. I literally just finished it today because last week when Nancy and I had a conversation about this, she said, well, I want facts. I want, data supporting this. And I said, fair enough. You're absolutely correct. We want, in my head, I thought I knew, and facts are very important to have when you're presenting it holistically. And I'll just go ahead and start reading it, and then Chris is going to chime in after. So currently, most of the Reading Pleasant Street Center programs are encumbered until the end of calendar year 2025. The lunch and learn meals are encumbered until the end of calendar year 2025, and Monday community meals are encumbered until the end of June 2025. There are some events that have not been scheduled past June 2025 that can be paid from the operating fund. EHS has their annual operating budget of $50,000, which was increased 2 years ago by $25,000. And the cumulative amount of expendable trust funds is over $400,000. We're not really quite sure about that now.
Yeah.
Because of the interest part, but in full transparency. There is approximately $98,000 remaining in ARPA funds. By the end of December 2024, we need to encumber the funds, and we project that $80,000, give or take, will be remaining that was slated towards supplemental programming space. This was also mentioned in the last meeting. There was a discussion at the select board and FinCom on the possible reallocation of funds toward pickleball. We apologize for the rush timeline and want the COA to know that a few ideas were brought to staff and leadership over the course of the past month, and that pickleball design appeared to be a great use of the funds. Here's why. Currently, our PPA, Reading Pickleball Players Association, along with a private donor, have fundraised $120,000 to put towards pickleball courts at Simon's Way. They are projecting to have even more by spring of 2025. Pickleball is an extremely popular sport among our 60+ community. The intention of the ARPA funds was to use it to benefit the 60+ community in Reading, not just those who attend the PSC. Outdoor activities were a lifeline during COVID and remain an important part for our community. Therefore, the design of these courts will benefit another demographic of the 60-plus population, while also creating intergenerational and multi-generational opportunities. Whew, this is long. There are currently.
Take a breath.
Woo, okay. There are currently courts at Memorial Park, but there is inadequate parking and complaints from neighbors about the noise of pickleball. In addition, pickleball courts were removed from the Birch Meadow Phase 2 capital plan, in large part due to the proximity to the neighborhood and school because of the noise. The allocation of ARPA funds to pickleball is not an entirely new concept. There have been suggestions by staff, committee members, and members of the community to explore this opportunity for the funds. At the time, there are various boards and committees like SWEC and RECALC that were determining uses at specific locations. After much vetting, pickleball at Simon's Way was an identified project in both committees and is supported by RPPA and staff. Pickleball courts would also not affect the addition of a future Reading Center for Active Living if Simon's Way were the determined site. We have done some data pulls through RPPA and Reading Recreation over the past week to show the popularity of the sport in our 60-plus population. First, there was a pickleball petition made last year for new courts. Pickleball enthusiasts submitted postcards to the town staff that they would like courts at Simon's Way now, and that's what it's in capital letters. Recreation received 167 postcards and 93 were from Reading 60-plus residents, or 56%. Recreation also calculated the number of participants in pickleball from January of 2022 to present and had 376 unique participants, which means that they weren't repeating. And if we calculated the repeating, it would be pretty significant. There were 172 60-plus participants, or 46%. It can also be noted that ages 50 to 59 account for 104 unique participants, or 28%. Therefore, ages 50-plus make up almost 75% of pickleball participants in recreation programs. Finally, the list from RPPA 60-plus participants provided by Michael Coltman, Reading Rec 60-plus participants, and 60-plus petitioners who submitted those orange cards was a combined 247 unique participants. It could be argued that on a given day, just as many Reading seniors play pickleball as attend the Pleasant Street Center. There are also, of course, members that do both. And I've seen that happen. And I know that happens. Ultimately, it is a select board decision, but we hope that the COA will support the reallocation of ARPA funds from supplemental program space to design money for pickleball. And then below is just the graph that Rec provided that is kind of just a graph of what I just said. So.
Do they want all the funds, the whole 80,000? Or will there be some left for, maybe Chris needs to order things?
Can I just, before we get into discussing it, can I just say a few words? I support this proposal. I think it's a very good use of the money. I think Jenna has laid the groundwork for the fact that the population is part of the population that the COA serves. And if you remember way back when we were beginning to we were part of the input for allocating the funds, this was brought up. And the recommendation was, let's hold off and see which way this goes. Well, now it's back up again. And I just want to say that I fully support using the $80,000 for pickleball. One of the things that Mark Doxer did at the select board meeting was, rather than vote on it at the last week's select board meeting, it's going to be put off until November. At that point, we'll know what the testing holds for us, and we'll be able to make better plans on the expenditure of the funds. But I just think it fits into our mission. And I also think, my gut tells me that this is a population that we currently are not serving. And I think it's a good use of the money.
Nancy, are we voting on it or we're
No.
just discussing?
We're
Okay,
discussing it.
yes.
But
Do you need a vote from us, like from the next meeting? Or not?
I think that they don't need a vote because the town
We could
can.
go and say, hey, we brought it to the council on agent and it's.
Yeah.
it's
I just want-
important.
I
And that we support it. So, but I just, so we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And we can take a vote, that we do support this, money to go towards the pickleball
I think
effort.
It would be helpful to have a vote.
I do too.
To take to the select board.
And just, sorry, just really jump in really quickly. I want to say I support it as well. I think it's a good use. You know, it is a population that, you know, a lot of them don't come to the center. And it's a good way for us to do a little bit of outreach and maybe reach a population that I think would be important to reach to. You know, and I hope to be able to, it'd be a great partnership to form between pickleball and the Pleasant Street Center, because a lot of those folks, they're coming in. And, you know, the more information that we can get out to help, the better. And, you know, I think it's a great opportunity to share. You know, I think, and there's no explanation, pickleball it's a great sport, it's growing. I mean, my expertise before coming here was in exercise, health and science. And older adults need to keep moving. I do hope that, you know, especially the Pickleball Association, I hope they promote proper pickleball. So older adults, my only worry is that, you know, I want to make sure older adults don't get hurt. There is an increase. And, you know, I want to make sure we advocate that we keep our older adults moving and we keep them healthy. And this is a fantastic way to do it. And I want to make sure we do it properly. Because I don't want someone to get in, like, but that's any of our health and exercise classes. I don't want anyone to get injured. And, you know, that could lead down a road. But I support this because pickleball people are fans. It's a group that, you know, be great to form a relationship with. It's important. I know Karen has spoken about it a lot, and I value her opinion on it and what she says and what it's done even for her. You know, that's important. So I want to say, you know, as the EHS administrator, I think this is a good use of funds. You know, I even mentioned, you know, maybe we could, there's a little bit of room, maybe we could put in a bocce court. You know, which would be, I think would be awesome to, you know, because I don't have a huge lot of data on this, but I do know a lot of guys over the past year or two have mentioned, hey, is there possible to get a bocce court? And I'm not saying we have to fund it through this 80,000, but maybe if there's some space to, okay, we can throw in a bocce court that we don't have. It might just be another tool to continue outreach and continue to serve our older, younger adults and older adults in Reading.
Yeah.
So I support it.
So I'm gonna open this up for discussion now. We're not gonna vote on this. Just so that people know, we're pretty much on time for the agenda. The next two items should be very short, but I'm thinking that, you know, we keep the discussion to about 15 minutes and go forward. Marilyn.
Just need a minute. I support this as well. At the select board meeting, I spoke asking, I wasn't even mentioning rec or pickleball. I just was concerned they were going to decide that night. And on the document that they had in the packet for possible uses, actually pickleball wasn't on the list, but also what had me upset was I didn't see anything about funding the upcoming expenses that we know are coming on the community center work. But you just explained that scene, there was conversation wasn't reflected in the document shared for the packet, that there was reason it wasn't there. It wasn't just Who needs that?
Right.
So I was reacting to that. I was not reacting against anything about this proposal. I think that pickleball is a great way to get into that segment of the seniors that we don't really have a lot for right now. I'm all for it.
Yeah. You had a question, Rosemary, and I
forgot what it was.
I think you asked, oh, will some of that money be available if Chris needs it for certain things? By the end of this year, 2024, there's still $18,000 that we're using towards the programming. So this is the supplemental programming space portion. So until the end of the year, Chris will have those funds. And then any general supplies that he'll need or anything like that, we have almost our whole entire operating budget of $50,000 remaining that he can use from January till June, and then it resets again in June. So there'll be plenty of money, because again, we encumbered all of the programs too for next year. So.
Right, I put all the vendors on contracts for the next 14 months. So we can pay them out of the ARPA funds. Also means participants won't have to pay for the next 14 months. I've also been taking a look at our supplies and utilizing some of the ARPA, making orders with some of the ARPA funds so we can have the supplies that we need for the programming that we have encumbered for the next year. So we've been not just looking nearsighted, we've been looking longer term to make sure we have what we need. So.
Right, and Sharon, our town accountant, encumbering the funds is difficult. So we needed those contracts to encumber all of the funds.
Yeah.
So we needed to have every single vendor sign it. They needed to give a pricing sheet. Then we needed to go into Munis, set up the PO. So it was a lot of work that was done in the past month. So thanks for all your help. And to all the vendors for being responsive and respond. And now I think next year, even more programs are free than this year.
We have more.
Right.
That's what I've been doing over the past essentially month is getting contracts and talking to all our vendors. So, Zumba on Mondays and Tuesdays at Senior Fit and Zumba is going to be free for the next 14 months. So we can pay Kelly. So art class will be free. So we can, we're really going to try to push the outreach. And I think this is a great opportunity, like I was saying, we can help grow, with the remaining ARPA funds, the outreach, and we're encumbering so we can help get people in the door. And the more people we can get in the door, the more we can reach. And, not everyone will stay, but we do a pretty good job on keeping people staying. And this is also allows us to, with the pickleball, to reach folks that we don't reach. And I need to reach because I think it's important.
Does it include the rackets and things, or does everyone bring their own?
Bring your own.
You bring your own, okay.
So I don't know
Here.
anything about pickleball. It's like exercise, I don't do that. But so for these courts, do they need to be like reserved or anything like that? Is there going to be a fee associated with that or anything?
Yep, so they do need to be reserved. You can reserve 2 weeks in advance. There's 4 courts currently that you can rent, so over at hopefully the potential new site, there would be 8. And it is free to reserve the courts unless you're a non-resident, and it's $25. And it's a 2-hour time block, right, for the reservations,
You can,
So-
one or
so-
two.
1 or 2.
If I could just say one thing on
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
That right now it's at over capacity, so
Yeah.
reservations get made, 15 minutes after they become available. All the prime times are booked up. And that's an impediment for people, coming new to the sport and they want to get on and play and learn how to do it and all that stuff. So that's the value of 8 courts. I think I'm hoping that with 8 courts, most of the time there would be a court that's empty that people could just walk on and play. And that's really how you get new people into the game and they just walk up and play.
And you do have open play on Fridays too, right?
Open play on Fridays. And And now the issue is it gets dark
Uh,
6 o'clock. So I
Right?
didn't think of that early enough to do anything about that,
Oh, bummer.
but next year.
The Y has indoor court space too for it,
They have one court,
one court.
and it's too bad the gym isn't just a little bigger.
Yeah.
Michael, if we don't tell recreation, I'll hang some lights for you. Oh, wait a minute, Genesee,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, they were even willing to fund portable lights at Memorial Park too, but the neighbors.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to say, you know, Jenna did a great job putting together these numbers and all that stuff. I'm pretty certain that this is an undercount because it's really hard to keep track. We don't check IDs, so I don't really
Yes.
know. But I actually know of a couple players who are over 80 who play all the time. They're not included in this. And the other nice thing about Simon's Way is that we can make it much more pleasant to get from your car to the courts. Right now, you have to walk up a hill over all sorts of stuff, and I think a bocce court's a great idea. And I really think that there's so much potential synergy if we can get, if we eventually can get community recalc, in that locale, that would be just tremendous, but
And there's no neighbors at Simon's Way, which makes it really does, I've thought about this for a while now. It makes it a good spot for pickleball.
And there's a
'Cause
gun range.
Gun range.
you're competing with a gun range. Rather than, you hear on the news, the sound of pickleball of these towns, and they're right next to it, and Simon's Way, you really are competing with an ice skating rink and a gun range,
so.
And softball.
The other Benny that I see is you've got pickleball courts and you've got a new active living center that has bathrooms and might have, a little coffee station and so it really does help to build a community.
Yeah.
So I think it's
I
good.
feel as though the Simon's Way is an excellent spot for pickleball. We do have a lot of people who want to play it. So I would back that fully. You want to go from 6 courts to 8. I'd like to see it stay at 6 and put a dog park in, because there are a lot of people in Reading who want a dog park. And over in Simon's Way, that would be another perfect place to put something that people are interested in but don't want next to them where they live. And talking about the headaches for pickleball court, there's been articles printed about people wanting to sue the town and not pay the town taxes because they cannot sell their properties. Being next to a pickleball court.
Right.
So, right,
No.
that's what I'm saying, and I would back the pickleball courts being over there. And I also would like to see a dog park over there, because we have a lot of people who are animal lovers. And Everett has a wonderful dog park. It also has almost like a restaurant, a gathering place for people. So maybe we can expand our thinking and think about that too. The pickleball court and a dog park are 2 areas that people would not want around their housing. And we're very lucky to have this land over by Simmons Way to put these items on recreation over there. So that's where I stand on that. And I would back anything you want.
Yeah, and I think the dog park on that other parcel of land, maybe to the left. I think that was the original location where Stephen Cool came in and was proposing, not where pickleball is supposed to be, but in that other location, not to say a dog park couldn't go where pickleball would go. But it didn't seem like the dog park had much of a following. As
I don't know,
pickleball did.
I've heard it from people I know, they're looking for a dog park.
Yeah, it's
But
really
I get
important to have an organized group of people to kind of advocate.
I'm not organized because I'm not an animal person.
But.
I just know that people want,
Parks, but.
I think my only concern, last thing, my only concern with the dog park is the noise.
And yours.
That's why it would be good over
Well,
at Simmons.
No,
Point.
like, I know my dog, I can't, she has really high anxiety around fireworks and loud noises. So I couldn't
Oh,
take her
yeah,
over.
same thing with
to
mine,
Everything,
yeah.
Because she would,
That's pretty common.
she would collapse.
Can I, bring us back to the topic at hand? I think the idea of looking at other opportunities is a good one. But it sounds to me like oh, wait a minute, I see Jean Prado's hand up.
I personally think pickleball courts are great. My other thought is to draw in the 60+. Pickleball is awesome. I agree with the bocce court. Has anyone thought of, when they do the pickleball courts, to do them a size that they can be alternate from pickleball to tennis courts?
No, they would be dedicated pickleball courts.
Okay.
There's a lot of tennis courts up by the high school and places, so.
I just have another question about the accessibility of it. So if we feel like now there's going to be a lot more courts, do they still need to reserve that time, or will we be able to open up the pickleball courts to everybody?
So they would still be on a reservation system, definitely.
And what
The
would
tennis courts are also on a reservation system.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then do people have to go online for that? Is there any way we could dedicate one of those courts to be organized by like Pleasant Street Center or something? Like, I just want to make sure that people who don't have access to computers or being able to access the reservation system, if we could make it easier for them, especially if we feel like the population that's going to be at the pickleball court is going to be a little bit different than the ones who go to the Pleasant Street Center. Is there any way we can have the Pleasant Street Center be like a?
I think it would be worth, I know Jim and I have worked really well together with like coordinating the Pleasant Street Center. What I would suggest is, I know, and Karen brought this up, and I think you were the one that voiced this, is they started doing beginner pickleball lessons. And I think it's a great opportunity to, get seniors in to continue that. Maybe, I think that was very valuable. And then I think maybe at some point it'd be worth exploring, Jim and I could talk, be like, hey, could we set aside some time, be like, so, do a, whatever it is, they use a Pleasant Street Center, they book it. Maybe we could do the same thing. And I think these would be good things to explore. Be like, all right, could we maybe have a court that we could just advertise? If it doesn't work, we'll take it off as advertisement, but then try it again.
Yeah.
Is there liability involved in that?
No.
There be liability?
Michael even mentioned that too earlier, that the reason for the 8 courts was with the indication that there probably would be an open court for people to just come down and play if they wanted to at any given time, right, Mike?
Yeah, and I mean, I would love it if they were so popular that they were reserved all the time. But in that case, I think we would work with Jim to set aside open play time, probably, set aside these 4 courts are, every morning have to be available for whomever. There's lots of things that can be done as soon as you have a little bit more capacity.
Yeah.
And,
That's a great
Now,
idea.
does this, sorry, one last thing, I just want a clarification. If we get these 8 pickleball courts, does that mean, what happens to the Memorial Park courts?
so that's not been decided,
You guys.
but I would assume that they would go, one, they probably need to get.
Yeah, they gotta get a
re-
resurfaced anyways.
resurfaced, probably within a couple of years. There's some cracks in them but at that point, I would recommend that they remain dual lined, but be made as primarily tennis courts again. And, then become like a neighborhood kind of thing that you could go up and play. Sort of like there are 4 pickleball courts at the high school. that are substandard courts and people use them, they bring their own net and use them a little bit. But that's sort of what I would envision, that it would essentially not become the pickleball location. It would be secondary or tertiary, where parents might come out with their kids to teach.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk probably more at the rec committee about it too.
Yeah.
Just because I know one of the big reasons why we want to move it is because of the noise.
Right.
But if there's less pickleball playing up there, and it stays dual line, like maybe that would work for the neighborhood. But maybe they would prefer it to go back to just tennis if there's 8 pickleball courts that are lit.
I think that what I'm hearing here is that the Council on Aging members agree that this is a good use of this unencumbered money. I'm also hearing, I think, that a lot of thought needs to be put into how the pickleball courts are reserved and who has access to it. And so I'm hoping that.
And we can do a lunch and learn.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that, that EHS is working closely with rec, as I'm sure it will be, to work that out. And
If they don't, can't rent the Pleasant. That's right. Pickleball courts, you don't get the room.
Is this a seasonal thing? The picture looks like it doesn't have any kind of cover, so come winter, is it?
We play in the winter, as
I-
long as there's no wind and it's above 32, we're out there.
That has to be plowed. I remember last year.
Yeah, this
you
was
were
brought up
asking.
at the select board
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
so Jim and the leaders will figure it out. We'll
Okay.
figure out a plan. We'll talk with Michael.
Okay, so the hope is.
Yeah.
We're hardy New England pickleball players, apparently.
I raised it only because it
Yeah.
was raised as a criticism
Yeah, no-
last year that things weren't being kept open that could have been, and I just. that's all.
Yeah, and there was a lot of reasons behind that. We don't need to get into
Yeah,
the weeds,
no.
but
Ancient history.
there is
Just
an
want to make sure the
intention.
future is good.
Yeah,
That's all.
there's an intention that it will hopefully be plowed like other towns do,
Okay.
but priority needs to go to the school, the town,
sure.
Sidewalks, all
All
those
those
things
things.
first, yeah.
Now, is there more money that needs to be raised, or is this gonna cover?
No, the courts. Well, we don't know how much they'll actually cost, because that's one of the things that has to happen, is you have to really do the design, get the testing of the soil done.
Yeah.
Find out what sort of remediation you might have to do, all this stuff. So estimates for how much this would cost are probably between 400K and
Oh.
800K. And it could be more, it could be less. I just don't know.
Mhm.
RPPA has raised over 120, maybe over 125 as of today, I'm not sure. And we project that we will be able to raise over 200K before the spring. And maybe more. I mean, I heard some ideas on fundraising tonight, so.
Yep,
And we haven't really looked through the grant deals and all that stuff yet. So that's the range of what a private
Okay.
donation might come up with. And then rec and the town would propose to town meeting
Some
some amount.
answers, okay.
Yeah, and we already
That's
have.
really what some of this 80K would help really gel a lot of that and get a lot of that information
Yeah.
much clearer.
And rec has $100,000 for FY 26 to put towards the project, so say if pickleball has 200,000 and we have the 100,000, that's 300,000 in funding that we could bring, so then we advocate for this and we say, hey, we want 8 courts, it's gonna cost 700,000 and we've raised 300,000. So we'd ask town meeting for 400,000. So, and who knows, maybe it's 600,000 and that's half of the funds.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah,
So,
And maybe we can do more than, okay.
Well, I
Thank
think,
you.
we,
We all agree.
agree.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're gonna make a vote. Next time we'll put it on the agenda in support of.
Yeah.
So,
Very good presentation, Jenna.
Yeah,
yeah.
very good.
I
Yes.
had to write it all out to,
Mhm.
because it's just so much background information and I was like, I could come here and spout off, but anyone watching
Mhm.
can now
Oh, yeah.
edit and it will be in the meeting minutes. You could add it as a
Yeah.
part of the meeting minutes and
A lot
people
of
can
good
do
data.
it.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got some help.
All right, the next topic is a new committee, the ACE committee is looking for a representative from the Council on Aging to participate in their new committee. And I did put the URL there. I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at it. But basically, this is an ad hoc commemoration establishment committee. And it's to acknowledge and express accountability for the mistreatment of Bill Russell and his family. Establish the funding and infrastructure for the long-term action plan. Identify barriers to participation, engagement, and representation for Black and Brown people in all aspects of Reading life. And to honor Bill Russell's legacy by striving to create the vision of an exclusive, equitable, and welcoming community. So it's being formed right now. They are looking for a liaison from our committee. If anybody here is interested, what I would ask you to do is send me an email. And I can get back to the committee and let them know that we have someone that would be interested in being on the committee. You can also reach out to this committee to ask them more questions. So I can't remember her last name, Holly. I've had several conversations with her. She's very nice. And she will chat with anybody who would like more information about how this is going to happen. So just send me an email and let me know if you would like to participate in
Have to
this.
be a vote for a member.
Yeah, they probably would.
Probably, we can put it on the agenda at the next one. We'll see who wants to put their name forward and go from there.
Yes, but just, it's not clear to me, other things that we're liaisons on are because one committee we have parallel or synergistic things we're working on. And I don't see the connection to aging, and maybe it's, or unless it's just old timers will remember. And
I
don't know.
I think they asked.
I'm not
No,
criticizing.
I think that they asked for a representative. If anybody is here is interested, let me know.
Okay, so we don't know what the liaison role really is.
Well, no,
Okay.
other than what I read,
Okay.
it's the mission of ACE.
Okay.
Okay? So just let me know if you're interested. And the last item is to form a work group to begin to talk about those outreach activities that we talked about back in August. So I am looking for probably 3 volunteers that would like to participate on that committee to put together a more formal plan and to recruit volunteers. And so if anybody on the committee here in this room or online wants to work on that, again, send me an email. And I will report back in the November meeting. Questions on that one? No.
Well, what does that involve? Outreach activities, what
Do
exactly?
you
does that-
remember in August?
No.
This list.
Nora has it. We came up
That's
with,
in here?
Yes.
Yeah, within the packet.
we came up with ideas, ways to support the ways to support the new senior center, the new building for executive for elder and human services.
Same thing.
Is that when we were at the library? Just three of us, you and I and Jean?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, and we talked a little bit about it at the August meeting. And then we all kind of decided that we needed more information about what we can and can't do. So what that group has got to do, it's got to look at everything that was said during the September meeting by the lawyer. What was
Donna.
Oh, the legal.
the legal, Donna?
Yeah, Don Brewer.
Which is detailed in the minutes.
Mhm.
Excruciating.
Right, right.
Too funny.
Right. So we've got to pull all of that out. We've got to come up with some recommendations. We've got to summarize it, and we've got to figure out what activities we can do, we can't do, that we have people that are willing to do it. And I think the only way that's going to get done is if we have this core group of 4 people. Although, if more people want to get involved to do that, I don't care. We can just call a meeting. That's all we'd have to do is call a meeting. So actually, anybody who wants to be part of that discussion. But rather than spend the time here at this meeting, going over that level of detail, I think what we need to do is do kind of a high-level presentation and then bring it back here for approval and feedback. Discussion?
Just an FYI, I noticed that the Killam folks have got a list of here are the dates of all our upcoming outreach meetings. I mean, I was assuming they were reacting to having also been told your only means of communicating is through these outreach meetings. So we should probably be along the lines of what that group needs to do is let's identify some dates and get booked at wherever we need to be booked to do that and get it
Yeah.
out.
So that's what this
Yeah.
subgroup will do, is take a look. And I'm assuming that with the project manager on board now, we're going to be back to BH&A is going to restart the schematics and we're going to start to move forward again. So, all right, so send me name of anybody that might be interested in participating on the ACE committee, and send me names of anybody that if you're interested in participating on a smaller work group to work out the details of outreach. All right?
Just one more, why, actually, you don't have it on this week's agenda, the work on the work groups. I guess this is gonna sort of replace them. But
What?
anyway, just FYI, Karen and I are working on a presentation that could be used in outreach. It's explaining a lot of this. and
Great,
We're making headway.
great. Good. So,
A whole series of them, but it's one.
Mhm.
Pretty pictures.
we will add it to the
Goes
list.
Like this, size of building goes.
And that's great background information to have too, because Jane has mentioned about using Dave Cartoonin. He's been doing some really great videos for Killam and MBTA communities most recently. So they're like 2-minute videos that give you a snapshot. So people can easily watch them.
That's because Canva only lets you make a 2-minute video. What do you want to bet?
Oh, probably, you're right. But
But people's attention span.
I know, but I just was looking.
But
it up.
having your
Yeah.
information is really helpful because we
Yeah.
can take
Yeah,
all the information we can get to give to this
That'd be
person
great. That'd be great.
can help us market and outreach.
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Any other items that not on the agenda, unforeseen, any major?
Just a suggestion for an item for next month's
Okay.
agenda is we should have discussion of expenditures, possible things. There are some things that I think it would be nice to have, like a council on aging sign for when we go to these things for our table. There are things like maybe we want business, I mean, they're minor, but we can't do it without.
Yeah, like a
voting.
tablecloth. or-
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we should, and we should bulk up again on whatever we want to replace or supplement the jar openers, I mean, so if we could have a vote on fund expenditure next month, that would be a good time for us to think about getting some of that stuff covered.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, would people mind if that's part of this committee to come up with, I mean, do we just want to have like this general discussion, people throw out ideas? What
Would
if,
have to make a motion, someone had said, I'd like to move, we spend X on Y, but.
You can just say, you can make a vote to empower the chair to
Okay,
come up
Just
with
say-
materials
Okay.
for the council on aging
that'd be fine.
and expend X amount of money.
That'd be fine.
okay,
And then you would know.
okay.
We need
Yeah.
tablecloths, we need jar openers.
Yeah, we need a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can talk
Use
to Fred.
No, the Friends have this
Great sign.
fabulous sign.
Yeah, let's get one.
I know.
Business cards wouldn't hurt either.
They also have a beautiful brochure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good idea.
all right.
Not expensive.
So I have for the next agenda,
He's all right.
in November, talk about the operating budget, getting a little lesson on that.
Sure.
In November, in the meantime, talk to Diane about the trust funds in Burbank and figuring out the expendable funds. And then expenditures for promotional items.
And then voting to.
Oh,
for
okay.
the Pickleball, that we're in agreement.
Yes.
And voting for an ACE member,
And what?
voting
ACE.
for a potential
voting.
ACE member.
And voting for, tax work-off program?
Oh, yeah, tax
Tax
work
work-off
off program.
Oh,
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Oh, that'll be a busy one.
We haven't voted on it in a long time.
Yeah.
oh,
But we've got the trip to the State Council on Aging thing coming up in a couple of weeks, it's not voting, but
Oh,
it's the
yeah.
last thing I remember us having voted on, was the money for
To
that.
adjourn, I want to get to the select board.
I second it.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Karen Panett,
Bye-bye.
Pete Prado,
Yes.
Marilyn.
yes.
And Rosemarie.
Yes.
And Karen Janowski.
Yeah.
And Karen Fatina. And Nancy Zimlak. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.